Wow, welcome back. What do you think? We good? Yeah? Last minute job, man. I thought I'd get in with the festive spirit. So, 2 days, guys. 2 days until Christmas Day. Now, be very careful when you are playing these environments. Why? Because it's usually light around this time of year. You're going to see some sharp moves up, sharp moves down. And we've got some interesting story about Tether being delisted in European exchanges. Thank God for Brexit. Shouldn't really affect the UK. But what will that do to crypto across the board? I mean, why are you going to penalize crypto? And you've got the USA behind crypto, backing it like no tomorrow. I guess Trump's right about making the US the home for cryptocurrency. I don't care about what's going on in the Eurozone because, quite frankly, most of the volume's coming from the US anyway. So it's going to be an interesting one. We're going to dive into that and have a look at exactly what the story is with regards to that. But it's very interesting, this price action. Bitcoin's lost the 100K point, and a lot of people are now trying to work out, is this it for Bitcoin? Are we going to see some movement to the downside? Is it going to roll over? What are the next levels? You've got analysts calling for another 20K drop, which ain't bad. Like, come on. What's wrong with a 20,000 drop on Bitcoin? BlackRock's balance ain't reducing. I mean, they have sold a little bit of Bitcoin, but nothing that's going to be concerning. Nothing to really shave the big balance off, but I'm not too concerned about that. So what we're going to do is going to break it all down. A few things have come and hit the stock market. Some really good news hitting the stock market about what could potentially be happening in 2025. And with that being said, let's get with the program, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. So stocks are starting to move up a little bit, just trying to work out what's going on with the interest rates. Today, we are going to be going into some news regarding the consumer confidence. We just had core durable goods orders coming out, which has effectively said, look, minus 1.1 on the dollar. And of course, on the durable goods month on month. And of course, core durable goods orders coming in at minus 0.1%. So that in essence means that there's not that much economic activity, which grants the idea of cutting the interest rates. But investors are thinking, hold on a second, why are you cutting interest rates when inflation is still high? So even though that's coming lower, that is sort of a good thing, and it's not a good thing at the same time. But going into 2025, guys, this is absolutely massive, and the impact it's going to have is going to be unbelievable. There are key changes happening to the 401ks. It's now going to be made mandatory that you contribute. Check this out. Going into it all, it says here, mandatory auto-enrollment for new 401k plans. Ladies and gentlemen, where's all that money going to go? They just chuck it straight into the stock market. That's exactly what they do with these 401ks. Do you understand how much liquidity is going to come into the markets in 2025? Like, I mean, come on. Look what's going on across the board. We've got NASDAQ and S&P trading not too far away from its all-time highs, but we did take a little bit of a beating going into the end of, last week, going into the bonds as such, because primarily that's where it's going to be at. You know, it's going to be like pensions, okay, similar to the UK. But this article here is absolutely huge on what's going to be coming into the start of the new year. And another aspect to it all is Trump's not going to be doing any hikes on capital gains tax. He says he's going to be actually cutting lots of tax going into the new 2025 term that he's going to be taking control of, which is what everyone's waiting for. Problem is the tariffs are going to start coming into play. Biden's already put out some more issues for China and trying to do some more with tariffs. That is a bit of a problem. Again, China's bond yield has hit a significant level, which is the first time in a very, very long time. It's not looking good for the world's factory. And that's what China is. It really is the world's factory. You know, so that's something that I'm going to be paying attention to going into 2025. But in other news, look at this. Biden ain't stopping there. Supposedly, whether this is real or not, that he could be getting a presidential pardon from Biden. And it's not necessarily not going to serve any time, but word on the street is that instead of the 25-year life sentence, it's going to be reduced down to 12 and a half years if he behaves himself. Whether that comes into play or not, I mean, he was backing most of these, well, he was backing Biden quite a bit, so maybe that is going to get cashed in, that little favor, but he's going to have to serve some time, okay? Now, before I get into the main story about what's going on with Tether, we've got a couple of other things here. It says here that Bitcoin potentially could be in due for a correction, all right? This is what I mean about what the justification for it, money supply, okay? So it says here that over the last 2 months, the money supply has dropped by 4.1 trillion, okay? From 108 to now 104. And if the relationship still holds, it says here that this suggests that Bitcoin's prices could fall as much as 20,000 over the next few weeks. Let's see what 20,000 looks like, and let me know what you guys think about that story right there. So, Bitcoin has dropped from the 108,000 point, and it's now trading at 95. Okay, now let's just go over to the daily time frame and understand exactly where we are. Bitcoin is trading within the 50 EMA cloud. This is important. You've recovered the violet vector candle right here, and you've recovered the red vector candle. Price action is very, very choppy. Bitcoin is still within this range, okay? Now, if Bitcoin were to lose this range right here at 90,580, that might be bringing us into a very interesting discount on Bitcoin. But $85,000 Bitcoin's still okay. Let's be honest now. It hasn't lost it. And the idea of a bearish market would only really come into play if Bitcoin, in my opinion, if Bitcoin were to actually break down into this range right here. If Bitcoin were to come back into the sub 73 region, that would then be consistent with a bearish market, okay? Because it would have lost key areas that it could effectively bounce from. This is the first test of the moving average that you see here on Bitcoin, and it's very important for it to hold it so that we can then make the assumption that it's going to continue higher. This story right here regarding Tether being delisted, I think, look, there's a couple of things you got to understand with this, all right? The biggest competitor to Tether is Circle. And Circle's trying to get listed on the US stock market, and it has met resistance to that prior to Trump, okay? So it's going to be interesting to see how 2025 is going to play out, especially if Circle does get the IPO on the stock market, which means gets listed on the US stock market, and then that should actually give it some more flexibility. I mean, that does mean USDC, but I don't understand why Tether is doing this. It could be a last minute thing. And what the MiCA is effectively looking for is they're looking for Tether to come in with a license, an e-license, to allow them to offer this. Now, depending on which exchanges are going to be putting this out there, they were talking about the December the 13th, that, well, it's not happening. But they're talking about the 30th of December where they're going to start delisting this, okay? And now they're going to be having a conversation about euros going to be missing out on the big crypto boom or the run. But everyone's starting to put out projections like this is it for crypto. Price will not go up anymore if they actually do this. Well, it just means that they're just going to have to put USDC in play. But will they be printing as much USDC as they do with Tether? It's another story, okay? But this story about Bitcoin potential decline with the fact that liquidity is starting to slow off could put us into a very interesting story. Like I said, if Bitcoin were to lose the 90,270 and hold this area here around 85, that will still be a good thing for Bitcoin, in my opinion. Usually what happens with bear markets is it starts off with a drop, okay? Then it comes up with a retrace. Then it loses that and continues back down. Comes up with another drop, and then a retrace back up. Can't claim the high, then it continues back down, and then you see a nice big drop, and then everything starts to consolidate, and then it will try and make the move back up again. If it does come back into this 70K region, that might be a problem. It really will, because ultimately, when you look at what's going on with Bitcoin, go over to the actual ETF, that balance seems to be increasing. But BlackRock lately has been selling a little bit, but not too much. I had a look earlier on today, and it says here that BlackRock, 23 minutes ago, had, of course, sold around $30 million of Bitcoin, 314 Bitcoin, 200 Bitcoin there, and 314 Bitcoin to Coinbase. So that could lead Bitcoin to mark down lower a little bit. But look, it's nothing to be concerned about. I'm not worried about it. I would naturally be wanting to see Bitcoin come back into these vector candle recovery points right here. Why? Because then that gives the 50 EMA a chance to stabilize. Price would then look to consolidate, and Bitcoin could actually complete this behavior again like they did over here and repeat this zigzag formation, lots of accumulation to prepare it for the next rally to the upside. Okay, logic says that that is something that you'd be welcoming with Bitcoin. It's not about being fuddish or being scared about it. Just look at where the liquidity sits. As it stands right now, we just saw Bitcoin take a bit of a dive and they had picked up some bids. We're going into the order flow as such, and you can see we got a few bids, 15 million at 93,743. You got, well, there was a little bit down there. Yeah, 6.6 million at 93,943. In the last 20 minutes or so, we've had 221 million. Yeah, $270 million worth of liquidity getting filled on the bid side. And it could suggest that there could be some more activity to see Bitcoin marking lower. And if you zoom out a little bit more, when you're looking at this order flow, you can see that what is really dominating right now. You can see that we've got huge amount of bids, okay? Bids that have been coming into this area here. And you had this huge bid zone of 18 million around 93,500. So the market historically is going to say to me that it's going to see interest inside of those zones. I'm going to be able to transact quite a bit if I can get price towards that point. We look at this little area that we've just seen happen, okay? And you can see that you've got this liquidity, 23 million. An order at 95,000 came in for $23 million of Bitcoin. That shows me that originally it was 1 million. Then it came in at 23. So we know we are in areas that are going to be grabbing investors' attention, which is why I say when you're looking at Bitcoin at these key levels, there's going to be instances where it can actually reverse to come back up. I think that going into 2025, once Trump does step into power and we know exactly where we stand with the tariffs, that's going to dictate whether or not investors are, in principle, going to be taking money out of the ETFs, because the ETFs are just flying right now. There's madness going off in the ETFs, and there's around $6.6 trillion worth of liquidity sat in the ETF money markets that investors are waiting to put to work, okay? Now, remember, with this article here, with the mandatory auto enrollment for the 401ks, that is naturally going to be liquidity coming into the marketplace. With the scope of where we are regarding the interest rates from the Federal Reserve, if that changes and they say we're going to increase the amount of cuts that we have, that's only going to happen if inflation does pull its head back. And today's data on core durable goods orders suggests that maybe that could be a good thing. If there's less orders being taken, then that means there's a greater chance that inflation could actually level out. Problem is, the labor market, it's still strong. Now, going into the week, ladies and gentlemen, we do have nothing much happening. I mean, look, it's Christmas time. What are you trying to do at Christmas? Scalp? Swing trade? I mean, you already have to be in the positions anyway. But today and tomorrow would principally be the last days of trading, where I would suggest you want to just slow it down and don't commit too much. And then, of course, Christmas Day, we do have Bank of Japan having a conversation. So even though the markets will still be open with cryptocurrency, that's going to be very interesting if he does actually turn around and say, yeah, we're going to cut the interest or increase the interest rates going into 2025. What a time to declare or have a conversation about what you're going to do with your interest rates, which is going to impact the actual carry trade. There's around $5-6 trillion in the carry right now. So if he turns around and says, yeah, we're going to increase interest rates, the markets can't do nothing about it. Pre-markets can, and they'll just load up all their positions. And then we get gap downs going into the open, going into the 27th of December on the Friday. What a day to return. Friday. You know, so it's going to be an interesting time, I think, going into Christmas Day. I'll be very interested to hear what they have to say. Now, going into a little bit of price action on Bitcoin, what time are we on? So it's 2:15 right now. So the market's open in 15 minutes time. We've seen Bitcoin starting to make this descend to the downside. We saw a little bit of movement right here. Still trading below the 50 EMA. And we've got this stop and volume candle down here. And we've got this blue vector candle zone right here. Going into the 4-hour time frame, just to have a look at where we are. Bitcoin is trading lower. And again, this area here is the area of interest for me. It's a bit of a problem because it is the one zone where they can really grab Bitcoin at a discount, okay? Quickly going over into Ethereum to see what she's doing right now. I'm going to look at the order flow. So Ethereum is holding out right now. Very choppy price action. Not really much happening with Ethereum. The Asian session has seen a little bit of a sweep up, but no test of the daily open. Big imbalance zone right here, which is very important. They've come back into this green vector candle. I mean, if Ethereum were to lose the 3,000 point, we got a problem. But then Ethereum hasn't even bothered taking its all-time high yet, so it doesn't matter about Ethereum, quite frankly. Going over to XRP with this hype about the Ripple coin or Ripple stable coin and USDT. I mean, XRP, I'm expecting XRP to come and take this area. It's going to lose $2. It really will, unless some news comes out very shortly to suggest that, yeah, XRP is going to be used by every single bank in the world. They're going to get rid of the US dollar, and they're going to use XRP as the currency of the world. The day we hear that, it will have to go to 5 cents before it actually does something like that. That's my opinion, but I will always talk down to XRP. Any questions? Over the weekend, so what did I do over the weekend? Over the weekend, I recorded some live trading, and we do have a discount code for new members for, you know, the good old festive Christmas spirit right there. Happy days. So I recorded some live trading on Ethereum over the weekend. We had a decent weekend trading Ethereum. I recorded that just to help everybody who's a platinum member understand my thought process behind what I'm using, what am I trading towards, why am I executing. And this video is roughly around 16 minutes of a trade where I'm breaking it all down for you. And we had a decent weekend, to say the least, man. We come out with some nice gains on Ethereum. I traded Ethereum and Bitcoin. That was on the 21st. Yep. And then there was the Bitcoin trade right there. So that was nice. And then we had this. This was a very tough trade, this one, this short right here with Ethereum. They took absolutely forever doing it. And it was the worst time that I took the trade. And even Bitcoin, I pretty much broke even with Bitcoin, even though it made $600 with the fees and not $130 as such. And then we had this one just before the actual weekend itself. We did pretty well. And I think I've shown you this one here, yeah, on Ethereum. So we played it really well this weekend, but that was the weekend before Christmas. So nothing's going to be happening for me. I'm not going to be trading going into the Christmas period as such. I said if there is an opportunity for me to take, it will be a quick scalp. But just looking at the way price is behaving, even going into the order flow of cryptocurrency right now, looking at Bitcoin, it's made a move. It's trying to make a move back up to its point of control around the 95,500 region itself. But liquidity is light across the board, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. It's very, very light. I'm not really seeing any big contracts being exchanged. I can see on the order flow here, it's like 500, 300, 900. That's not much. I want to be seeing 1,000s, 2,000s, 3,000s. Yeah, I'm not really seeing that. Even for Ethereum down here, if I just bring it up for you a little bit. You'll see here, Ethereum, it's tried to make the low. There's still liquidity below. And the liquidity for Ethereum, you've got 23,000s, 20, 21, 17s. And right now, Ethereum is playing inside of this point of control around 43,000, which sits at 3,347. So it's towards its value area high. Hasn't really made that much of a value area high. So it could be a nice little stop run up. But again, you've got to be very careful, guys, because liquidity is light across the board, man. I'm just looking at how Ethereum is behaving. Bitcoin on a 4-hour time frame, it's come and recovered this imbalance. There is liquidity down here for them to have. There is a wick down here. That could be a problem. Ethereum's always going to behave like this. You can see the book is very light, man. Look at it. It's very choppy. Not that much delta coming into play. So it's just looks very chopped. They come down to the VWAP, bounced away from it. Seems like it could be a local area of support to try and mark higher. Maybe that's the case, but I'd want to see Bitcoin really moving up first just to make that belief come into action itself. Okay, quickly going over into the stock market. NASDAQ looking like it's starting to struggle a little bit, and we've got an imbalance down below. Quickly having a look at the yen, having a look at what's going on there. Yen is going down. That's God. When are they going to do something about it? Because dollar yen itself, we just go over to dollar yen, you can see that thing is just not stopping, man. 157 on the yen. It's absolutely crazy. And we are probably going to get an intervention by Japan where they're going to naturally try and deflate the dollar, pump dollars into the currency itself, and then effectively bring the value of the US dollar down. And that intervention is right here. So if I just quickly show you what that is. Japan intervention. Hit that. Come on. There we go. Forex intervention. The purchase of USD against Japanese yen. And you can see right here, the blue lines right here, if I just zoom in and show you. The blue lines right there show you the intervention of when Bank of Japan stepped in and purchased US dollars. All right. And this is, look at these extremes. So when USD JPY was 159, that's when they intervened. When it went to 150, 154, they intervened there. And then they intervened again at 150. And we look at the chart, it's at 157. So not too far away from 159. It hits 160. What's Japan going to do? Just sit on their hands because their yen is getting smacked. But this principally means that investors are taking advantage of things like this. What do you see here? This is a Forex swap rate. Okay. Now I'm seeing here, I spoke about this last week, guys, talking about the yen and the euro. The actual implied differential has actually increased on the euro by only 0.1%. So it's gone from 166 to 167. The yen has actually gone down to 4.72. It was at 5.1 last week, which is very important because that tells you now that they're actually utilizing the yen. They're borrowing on the yen. Okay, they're taking on the yield of the yen. So that could be some clue as to what could be prepared for the Japanese yen going into this meeting or when Ueda speaks on Christmas Day. I'm expecting it to come down towards this area, which does naturally mean that the dollar is going to go up and the euro is going to come down. So it might be a little bit of time before that actually happens. But nonetheless, going over to the volatility index, we can see that bad boy is, look at that zone, man. They reversed from that point Friday all the way back down again, but we do have these issues right here, which they could actually bring the volatility index back up. So just got to be very careful. The market does open in the next 5 minutes or so. So any movement to the upside could be a little bit of a float. Just be very careful with it because dollar dominance is coming into play and it is trading at significant highs. And Bitcoin is on a trajectory to start marking lower. So just make sure that if you are going to buy Bitcoin, you don't buy it when it's performing these little choppy price action points. You get it when there is a bold move that has happened, okay? So if you see a bold move to the downside, pay attention. You see a bold move to the upside, any of your asset or any appreciation in your portfolio, maybe consider taking some profits. But when the best time for you to focus on Bitcoin is when you see blood on the street, when there's lots of selling, retail selling, when everything in crypto is going down. That's when you've got a discount. That's when you are buying at the same time as players who have got bigger capital and, of course, the guys who position themselves in terms of limit orders to buy Bitcoin. Just to put it into perspective, you got a dude right now that wants to buy $2.34 million worth of Bitcoin at 93,762. He ain't waiting for it to go higher. He's waiting for it to go lower. That's why the price is below where the price, the actual entry is below where the price is right now. Okay? Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of more days until it's all Christmas. I hope you're all ready for it. I'm not, but that's the way I work. With that being said, I'll be tuning into you all later on this evening. Remember, the discount code for the Christmas offer for Platinum membership is in the description. Get yourself involved in that because we are going to be doing a Platinum member Christmas live stream Christmas Day. I'm scheduling it for around 7 p.m. UK time, which will be around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. All right. And you'll be able to participate in that where we're just asking questions about the hybrid. And if we can see any opportunities, then we'll look to try and exploit them on Christmas Day, given that Bank of Japan's going to be talking that day too. All right. Mad love and respect, guys. And I'll be tuning into you all later on tonight. Peace.